Exclusive contracted novel by Falun Novel Network. Anti-Japanese War. Let you work alone, but build an ace army. Suchen traveled through the anti-Japanese war and became the new company commander. Faced with the dilemma of breaking up Sanyan Ridge, awaken the divine level selection system. After a brief thought, Suchen decided to work alone and develop independently. From then on, he recruited troops and horses, gathered talents from all over the world, and Zhou Weiguo, Shun Lu, Long Wenwen, and others joined in one after another. Quickly becoming the hegemon of northwest Shaanxi with both guns and food. The Battle of Pinyin Gol has begun, and the entire regiment is urgently returning to construction. Captain Zhang Dabiao. I don't have many people, but I only have 2,000 casualty. 2nd Battalion Commander Shen Quan. Have you seen Italian cannons? Take it out and show it to you. Upon hearing this, Li Yunlong exclaimed to the good guy, haven't you seen me for half a year? Have you all become landlords? At this moment, Suchen arrived late. Tens of thousands of elite, uniform American and German equipment, tanks, artillery, armored vehicles. Li Yunlong's eyes stuttered and he said, my goodness, where is this to fight in Pinyin County? It's clear that we're going to kill the enemy's hometown. Falun Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. System Awakening. Get ready to go it alone. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It's not good, Captain. There's no one left in the direction of Yujieling. The aggregation point is also missing. And it seems like we're on the list of casualties. Looking at the soldier wearing a light blue military uniform in front of him, Suchen, a national defense student, couldn't help but widen his eyes, appearing somewhat bewildered. It wasn't until a large memory flooded into his mind that he realized it later. I actually traveled to the world of resistance and became a platoon leader under Li Yunlong's command. After understanding the situation, Suchen couldn't help but clench her fists and get a little excited. In his past life, as the third generation of the military, although he applied to the National Defense University, he hated himself for not being able to be born decades earlier and killed the Japanese to serve his country and his family. Unexpectedly, the opportunity has come now. After a little calmness, he began to analyze the current environment. The Battle of Kangyunling has just ended, and the division headquarters and field hospitals have been successfully transferred. However, his own battalion and company unfortunately got separated from the main army during the dispersed breakout, and lost contact for more than a few days. In the era of extremely backward communication methods during World War II, this was not good news. So when they heard the report from the scouts, the other soldiers immediately fell into chaos. What, the list of casualties? Isn't that to say, even if we find the team leader and them, we won't be able to go back? The key now is that we don't even know where the team leader is. Damn it, little devils of dog days. Everyone shut up, the sky hasn't collapsed yet. In a panic, what's it like? At a critical moment, Suchen suppressed the noise. At this moment, a row of long tiger sons asked, Captain, according to your wishes, what should we do now? Suchen pondered for a moment and said in a deep voice. At present, there are only two paths ahead of us. Firstly, cross the Japanese defense line and join the headquarters. However, given the current situation, even if it can be proven that we were not killed in action, we will still be dispersed and supplemented to other positions. Moreover, the formation of 4, 5, or 10 people wants to break through layers of encirclement, almost dying without any life. Upon hearing this, everyone looked solemn. Huzi frowned and said, Captain, what is the second path you mentioned? Suchen looked around and slowly spoke, the second path is to develop alone. In other words, it's to work alone. As soon as these words were spoken, the whole audience was in an uproar. 40 or 50 soldiers were whispering and discussing, and no one could make a decision. Finally, it was still Huzi who stood up. Captain, I don't have much culture, but I just judge people accurately. Over the years, we've been fighting against the Japanese together. Besides the captain, the one I admire the most is you. I'll do it with you. Immediately after, the second and third row leaders also waved their arms and shouted. Platoon leader, Huzi is right. I also did it with you. Count me in. Instead of being assigned to other units, it's better to have a big ticket. Seeing several platoon leaders have already expressed their opinions, the remaining ordinary soldiers naturally have no objection. Looking at everyone's resolute faces, Suchen nodded. But as a national defense student in his previous life, he was very clear that it was not easy to build a military force that could fight and win battles. Moreover, in the era of such a scarcity of resources during the anti-Japanese war. Just as Suchen was thinking about how to lay out, a crisp mechanical sound came to her mind. Ding, the divine level selection system has been successfully activated and bound to the host. We are distributing the beginner gift package, please check it carefully. Suchen was momentarily taken aback, then overjoyed. As a traveler, my golden finger has finally arrived. Immediately afterwards, he opened the gift package. Ding, congratulations to the host for receiving rewards. Check ZB.26 Light Machine Gun X10, Maxim Heavy Machine Gun X1, Bullets X10,000. Upon hearing this, Suchen's eyes lit up, truly worthy of the system, truly generous. As far as he knows, this is even better than the company-level equipment of the Central Army's ace troops. The American and German divisions. As for the 8th Route Army, not to mention it. Taking my own 129th Division as an example, each regiment has an average of less than 10 heavy machine guns and only about 30 light machine guns. The hardships of the 8 paths are evident. After a moment of emotion, Suchen came to his senses. As the saying goes, there is not enough personnel and firepower to make up for it. Now that I have also made a windfall, I should have done something great. However, Suchen is not a reckless person. Since he has decided to develop on his own, having a gun alone is not enough. He also needs to build his own base. At this moment, 2 more scouts ran over. Report to the platoon leader, we have found traces of ghosts 10 miles ahead. There are about 100 people, including large carts and mules and horses. Preliminary judgment, it should be the Japanese transport team. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 2. The Devil's Transport Team. Robbed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Upon hearing this, Suchen was slightly taken aback. Since ancient times, troops and horses have not moved, and food and forage have taken the lead. If we can win this transportation team, the benefits are self-evident. Moreover, with 10 Czech light machine guns and 1 Maxim heavy machine gun, it's more than enough to eat this piece of fat. At the same time, several platoon leaders looked at each other and said, Captain, you shouldn't be keeping an eye on the transport team, right? Seeing that Suchen did not deny it, they were somewhat worried. Captain, we only have over 40 people at best, and 112 is not enough. Regarding this, Suchen showed a meaningful smile and said, have you ever heard that poor people rely on tactical interweaving, while rich people rely on firepower suppression? Upon hearing this, Huzi and others were puzzled. Next second, Suchen walked towards the entire company's supplies. At the same time, he issued a command to the system from the bottom of his heart. Help me extract the reward. Quickly, the system received feedback. Ding, extraction successful, please pay attention to checking. Wow. Suchen lifted the curtain to cover the rain, and the Czech light machine gun and Maxim heavy machine gun suddenly appeared. At this moment, all the soldiers in a row are dumbfounded. Where did this come from? Suchen did not explain this much, only stating that it came from the Kangyunling battlefield. Next, the order was directly issued. Everyone has it, prepare for the battle. About half an hour later, the figure of the devil really appeared at the foot of the mountain. The captain of the transport team, Yukio Hashimoto, and his deputy, Masato Muto, sat leisurely in the car. Lieutenant Hashimoto, the winding mountain road here requires careful consideration. After looking around, Muto was worried. Regarding this, Yukio Hashimoto didn't take it seriously. Relax, Lord Muto. Currently, we are in the Tsangyan Ridge, and our safety is greatly reduced. Although Colonel Sakata died here, the 8th route suffered even more. I don't know where to hide and survive. Upon hearing this, Wu Ting nodded and said, Xiao Shi, Lieutenant Hashimoto has a long-term vision. I really admire it. Listening to the adjutant's flattery, Yukio Hashimoto was very helpful. And even if there are 8 routes, what's going on? With their outdated equipment, it's difficult to hear a single sound. Upon hearing this, Wu Ting laughed heartily and said, Shoshi, no wonder you're calling Tuba Lu, it's a big loss. Seeing that the Japanese transport team had entered an ambush, Su Chen made an attacking gesture. Quickly, several hand grenades were thrown out in an instant. Boom! Boom! Boom, accompanied by deafening explosions, the devils instantly became chaotic. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! Yukio Hashimoto shuddered all over, then pulled out his sword and shouted, Yaga! Don't panic, protect the supplies. After the words fell, the devils immediately formed a defensive formation, surrounding mules, horses, and carts in groups. However, Su Chen did not give them too many opportunities to react and directly issued an order. Hold a meeting, give me a hard beating. Da-da-da. Da-da-da. Da-da-da doodle-doodle. Doodle-doodle. Doodle. In an instant, a group of soldiers stood tall and pulled the trigger one after another. In the dusty smoke, the devils were knocked unconscious and fell one after another. Scouts! Scouts! Yukime Hashimoto curled up inside the carriage and roared, Now, what's the situation? The reconnaissance soldier's voice trembled and he said, Report, report, Your Excellency. Judging from the military uniform, we should have been ambushed by the 8th route. Nanny! 8th route! Yukio Hashimoto couldn't believe it. Didn't they all evacuate after the Battle of Kangyunling? After all, from the perspective of machine gun firepower alone, the opponent is at least a main force. At this moment, Deputy Wu Ting struggled to jump out of the carriage and said, Your Excellency Xiaozhua, please withdraw with your supplies and leave this to me. Mr. Muto. Looking at his deputy, Yukio Hashimoto's eyes were filled with tears. It's too late, Xiaozhua, hurry up. Wu Ting grabbed the gun from the scout's hand and shouted loudly. Looking at the two people who were full of affection, Su Chen couldn't help but roll his eyes, then took out the .38 big lid, aimed, and fired. Bang! Muto's head was directly blasted, and all the red, white, and black sprayed out, splashing Lieutenant Hashimoto's face. The latter was stunned, with weak legs and collapsed into the car body. Su Chen originally wanted to shoot again, but the other party threw themselves all over and didn't show any signs. Finally, he could only settle for second place and raise his arms, shouting, Everyone has it, launch a charge. Comrades, go ahead. Kill. 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 The soldiers of the 8th route are full of fighting spirit, shouting and killing like thunder rolling in the sky, capturing the soul. At this moment, Yukio Hashimoto has been completely scared out of his wits. But where his responsibility lies, he can only shout loudly, Fight back. Fight back. The remaining devils immediately changed their formation, and the vanguard troops broke through and prepared to take down the heavy firepower points of the 8th route. However, the combination of light and heavy machine guns seemed to open a spider web composed of bullets. The devils had not taken a few steps before they were all beaten into sieves, completely unrecognizable. Slowly, more and more devils died. Blood flowed down the hillside, and the smell was overwhelming. Yukio Hashimoto originally wanted to take advantage of the situation and drive away, but Su Chen's marksmanship was amazing. A few hundred meters away, he was shot dead. When the captain of the transport team died, the other devils had even less combat power and were immediately defeated like mountains. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 3. Qingfeng Village Bandits. The meaning of a drunken man is not in wine. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After more than 20 minutes, the gunfire gradually subsided. More than 120 Japanese devils, all of them have seen the Prince of Yen without any loopholes. Looking at such achievements, the soldiers of the 8th route were all extremely excited. This battle is so damn satisfying. Su Chen looked at the expectant crowd and smiled, clean the battlefield. As soon as the words fell, everyone burst into enthusiastic laughter and cheers. At this moment, a series of soldiers are like a group of howling wolves. Gun bayonets, military uniforms and boots, cotton quilts and iron pots. As long as it is usable, the soldiers will accept everything according to the order. I have no choice, who said I was afraid of poverty before? And Huzi, with his quick eyes and quick hands, pulled open the tarpaulin on the truck and saw that it was filled with military cans, grenades, bullets, everything from equipment to logistics. Everyone was stunned. This is going to be posted. At the same time, Su Chen also nodded in satisfaction. The result of this battle was even richer than he had imagined. Especially the Japanese catapults, which are not only lightweight, user-friendly, and durable, but also have a wide range and killing power, are suitable for the current development needs of their own troops. After a moment, Huzi made a new discovery. Captain, I found a prisoner in the corner of the carriage. It seems to be the bandit leader of Qingfeng Village. Qingfeng Village. Su Chen was slightly taken aback. Isn't that the birthplace of Zhu Laoda and Zhou Weiguo? As the saying goes, all the heroes in Qingfeng Village and Huda Mountain are heroes. According to the relevant plot, Qingfeng Fortress is located on the first line of the sky, backed by the Great Black Mountain, and is easy to defend but difficult to attack. And with ready-made defensive structures and troops, isn't it exactly the ideal base for oneself? After a brief moment of contemplation, Su Chen's face lit up with spring light and he said, "Let's go, take me to see." Soon, Su Chen saw the prisoner mentioned by Huzi. He has a short stature, a face full of flesh, and a crooked mouth, which is very shabby. Before Su Chen could speak, the latter came up with a clasped fist and said, "Li Wu, the second leader of Qingfeng Village, thank you very much for your help." Su Chen smiled and bowed back, also reporting her name. He knows that one cannot judge by appearance. Although Li Wu looks unattractive, he is the leader of the 4 major Vajras in Qingfeng stronghold. He is best at sneaking attacks and gathering intelligence, so he is known as a smiling tiger. After a few simple pleasantries, Li Hu said casually, "Captain Su, thank you for saving me this time. Without further ado, let's go to Qingfeng Village. Good wine and good meat are enough, how about it?" Just as the other party's words fell, mechanical sounds came to Su Chen's mind again. Ding! Detected an invitation from the second leader of Qingfeng Village, triggering a first-level divine selection. First order. Su Chen was slightly stunned. So, are there any second or third level options in the future? He nodded in satisfaction, thinking that the higher the class, the better the system's reward would be. Subsequently, Su Chen turned her gaze to the selection page. Option 1. Refuse the invitation, you will receive 20 steamed buns for your stomach. Option 2. Accept the invitation and you will receive M1 Mortar X5. Su Chen's eyes lit up. The M1 was a medium-sized mortar widely used in World War II, with a long range, accurate accuracy, and great power. It was once known as the king of individual weapons. So he didn't even think about it, he just chose to. In my past life, there were only 4 Wawatu for 1 yuan, and 20 of them only cost 5 yuan. Can they be compared to mortars? Moreover, although Qingfeng Village was named after bandits, it was actually a group of ambitious individuals who robbed the rich and helped the poor, and were brave enough to resist the war. But due to family background issues, few regular troops have been willing to accept them for many years. And Suchen intended to develop Qingfeng Village into a base area, so he naturally wouldn't refuse the other party's invitation. Since that's the case, I'll be more respectful than obedient. Quickly, the battlefield was cleaned up, and a group of soldiers carried a full load of supplies, leaving only the corpses of Japanese soldiers scattered throughout the mountains and fields. At the same time, Li Hu, the second in charge, also witnessed the terrifying aspects of the Eighth Master. As long as it is usable, regardless of whether it is good, bad, new, or old, it will not be left behind, which can be said to be like pulling feathers out of a wild goose. So much so that all the fallen devils were ultimately stripped of their crotch cloth. Fortunately, there are several soldiers from the military academy in the team who can drive cars. Otherwise, they can't take away so many things. Because they were all within the territory of Yixianshan, when Su Chen and others arrived at the village, it was only then that the darkness had just been wiped out. Under the recommendation of Li Hu, Su Chen quickly met the legendary Zhu Laoda. Slim in stature, with dark skin, but a pair of bright and lively eyes, as if he could capture the soul. After a brief understanding of the incident, Mr. Zhu was extremely grateful to Su Chen and immediately arranged several tables of good wine and meat. The room for pushing cups and changing cups has been called a brother. At this moment, Su Chen finally spoke slowly and said, "Boss Zhu, I heard that the brothers of Qingfeng stronghold advocate for the heavens and specialize in fighting against the Japanese. I wonder if this is possible." Upon hearing this, Zhu Ziming slammed his wine bowl onto the table and said with great enthusiasm, "Of course we didn't run away, otherwise we wouldn't dare to deal with you 8 ways. As the saying goes, defending the homeland and resisting the war, is everyone's responsibility." Seeing that the other party had already taken the bait, Su Chen's cunning gaze flashed by Qingming outing in happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 4 Pick 4. Black Dragon's 18 Hands. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Subsequently, Su Chen continued to speak. Since that's the case, why didn't Mr. Zhu join the army with his brothers? Upon hearing this, Zhu Ziming's face immediately darkened a bit. It is said that the country is easy to change, and our nature is hard to change. We have also joined the Central Army in the Jin Sui Army, but our background is still there. Even if you kill many devils, in their eyes, bandits are still bandits. Su Chen nodded and then pretended to be casual, asking, "Have you ever thought of taking the 8th route?" This. Zhu Ziming suddenly felt a bit stuttered and hesitated to speak. In fact, Su Chen had long been aware that the other party simply complained about the poor equipment and weak combat capabilities of the 8th Route Army, which was just for the sake of his own face and difficult to speak up about. After drinking the wine from the bowl, Su Chen loudly said, "Huzi, pull out our equipment." Yes. In no time, Czech light machine guns and Maxim heavy machine guns were already placed in front of everyone in Qingfeng Village. Zhu Ziming's eyes were stunned and he hadn't regained consciousness for a long time. Although he doesn't know the specific names and models of the 2 machine guns, anyone with a discerning eye can see them, they are absolutely deadly weapons. Looking at the incredulous expressions on everyone's faces, Su Chen continued to pursue the victory. At this point, I'm not hiding it from everyone. In fact, I'm here to invite all the heroes to join the 8th Route and fight the Japanese together. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire village instantly fell silent. Everyone knows that it's an invitation, but in reality it's just a compilation. At this moment, Zhu Ziming's eyes narrowed slightly, unsure of what he was thinking. At a critical moment, Zhao Xiaotian, the second of the four great Vajras, stood up and prepared to break free from the siege of his own great leader. If you want us to do the eighth route, we can do it, but we must defeat our four great kings. Yes, if we don't even have this ability, why should we follow you? Upon hearing this, everyone present couldn't help but laugh. You should know that almost all four Vajras in Qingfeng Village are practitioners with real skills. Not to mention those who serve in the army, some martial arts may not be easily won by them. Zhu Ziming knew that Zhao Xiaotian and others were trying to help him out, so he immediately looked at Su Chen. Captain Su, what do you think of this matter? He thought Su Chen would step back despite the difficulties, but he didn't expect the other party to respond with a single response, no problem. Upon hearing the words, everyone was in an uproar. 1 against 4. I shouldn't be joking. Even Huzi and others are a bit puzzled. What is your platoon leader doing? As the saying goes, an hungry tiger is afraid of a pack of wolves, not to mention that the other party is still a burly man licking blood on the four edges of his sword. Are you really planning to hand over 10 light machine guns and 1 heavy machine gun? Except for Li Hu, the remaining few great Vajras looked at each other, their hearts inexplicably burning. I've seen someone arrogant before, I've never seen someone so arrogant before. Zhao Xiaotian, the furious second King Kong, couldn't help but say, brothers, let's go together. I want to see what confidence this so-called 8th Route Army Company commander has. Quickly, the four great kings had surrounded Su Chen in circles, constantly searching for his phone. The latter is observing the four of them in their footsteps, looking for loopholes. Originally, Su Chen's promise to pick 4 out of 1 was not due to a fever in her mind. But he knew that everyone in Qingfeng Village recognized the strong, and he happened to take this opportunity to stand up. Not to mention that Su Chen comes from a military family, and he has been practicing martial arts since childhood, especially skilled in the Black Dragon's 18 hands. In high school, he acted bravely and brutally attacked 2 knife-wielding criminals. After about 6 or 7 seconds, Jingang took the lead. He let out a loud roar, and in an instant, his bull-sized fist hit Su Chen, causing the air around him to whir. As a result, Su Chen did not retreat but instead advanced. He plunged his right foot forward into a horse stance, grabbed Jingang's arm with both hands, and used force to hit him. He bent over to push his buttocks and forcefully pulled the strap, directly throwing the former off his shoulder. Black Dragon's 18 hands third move. Monster Python flips over. Bang! The body collided with the ground, and dust was rising everywhere. Before Jingang could react, he had completely lost his combat ability. Upon seeing this, the other 3 great Vajras were stuttering with anger and tongue, so they resorted to fierce tactics. Immediately after, Su Chen launched an attack. He rushed towards the 3 kings with one swift step, twisted his body as much as possible, and then swung his right arm like a whip, hitting the opponent's chest. Black Dragon's 18 hands 9th move. Black Dragon Claws. Pop. After a crisp sound, San Jingang's body instantly arched into a shrimp, and his face turned pale. At this moment, the 4 kings suddenly shot out from behind and took Su Chen's back. Be careful, platoon leader. Seeing the 4 giants playing sneak attacks while occupying a numerical advantage, Huzi was instantly angry. However, Su Chen remained calm and unhurried, slightly distancing himself before flipping his right foot back and swinging his own tail. If it weren't for him deliberately taking back some distance, San Jingang would probably only be called San Gonggong in the second half of his life. In less than a minute, 3 of the 4 great Vajras had already fallen. Finally, Su Chen looked at the Jingang Li Hu Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 5. Compilation. Replenish troops. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Looking at the three brothers who fell to the ground but couldn't stand up, Li Hu swallowed his saliva deeply and felt very embarrassed. At this moment, neither he nor he goes up. Those who are in the game are lost, while those who are watching are clear. Compared to the four great Vajras, Zhu Ziming and the audience were even more shocked. Su Chen's moves, strength, and accuracy can only be described as breathtaking. Pop pop pop. At a critical moment, Zhu Ziming slapped Li Hu and helped him out. Captain Su's excellent skills are truly admirable. Su Chen waved his hand and said, Mr. Zhu spoke too seriously, but I don't know if what Brother Zhao said earlier is true. Upon hearing this, Zhu Ziming's eyebrows furrowed tightly. He knows that becoming a bandit is not a long-term solution. Moreover, from the perspective of equipment and methods, Su Chen is by no means an ordinary person. 9 light machine guns and 1 heavy machine gun, not to mention the company-level organization of the 8th Route, even if the Central Army's battalion comes, it may not necessarily have this wealth. Since that's the case, it's better to go ashore and fight against the Japanese in a dignified manner, to justify oneself. So after hesitating for a moment, he gritted his teeth and stomped his feet before finally making up his mind. Okay, I'm willing to give up. As long as Captain Su doesn't mind our background, from now on, Qingfeng Fortress will go 8 ways. Upon seeing this, Su Chen smiled and said, Boss Zhu is joking. As the saying goes, heroes do not ask for their origins. As long as they are righteous individuals who sincerely fight against the Japanese, we warmly welcome them from all 8 sides. He also did not expect that the path of recruitment this time would be so smooth and unobstructed. With their joining, the company was not only able to replenish its troops, but also its combat effectiveness was bound to soar. In addition, with the location of the garrison, it can be said that we can kill 3 birds with 1 stone. Zhu Ziming is a cheerful person. After identifying his target, Jai Yunyu couldn't even turn around and immediately shouted loudly, What are you all doing in a daze? Why don't you quickly recognize someone? Everyone in Qingfeng Village looked at each other and finally spoke in unison, Hello Company Commander. At this point, most people were convinced and had no further doubts about Su Chen. Later, Zhu Ziming patted his chest and said bluntly, Don't worry, Captain Su. Although the brothers in Qingfeng Village are not from a regular army, they will not hesitate to fight against the Japanese. Let's kill 1, let's kill 2. So if you have any tasks, feel free to speak up and I'm sure I'll handle them beautifully for you. Upon hearing this, Su Chen smiled. It seems that Zhu Ziming is still worried about his fear of their bandit identity. So the top priority is to arrange a battle as soon as possible so that they can have peace of mind. Subsequently, after understanding the specific situation of Qingfeng Village, Su Chen was very satisfied. Not only is there sufficient rice, flour, grains, and oil, but there are also many mules, horses, firearms, and several cannons. All these equipment can match a regular battalion on the 8th Route. Quickly, the new regiment, battalion, and company expanded from 3 platoons to a full 5 platoons. In terms of the number of people alone, it is already a strengthening company in the strengthening company. But Su Chen knew that on the real battlefield, the number of people was never the key criterion for determining combat effectiveness. So after incorporating Qingfeng Village, he immediately trained everyone. The first thing is to shoot. Upon hearing this, Zhu Ziming and others were puzzled and said, Captain, what else is the point of firing a gun? Isn't it just aiming and shooting? Tiger and other warriors also strongly agree with this. However, Su Chen shook his head and said, It's good to eliminate an enemy with just 1 bullet, but on a frontal battlefield, there's not that much time. So my requirements for you are very simple. Unless it's an ambush or sniper, if it's not an ambush or sniper, we can attack immediately and suppress firepower. Upon hearing this, everyone was somewhat shocked. Su Chen continued, let the enemy fire first and become the king. Taking a 10,000 steps back, you've been aiming for half a day. What's the difference between hitting the forehead and the eyebrow? It's no different, just hit it. I call this shooting philosophy absolutely fast, relatively accurate. Request individual soldiers to seek breakthroughs and group cooperation. After a few words, everyone present had their eyes lit up, and their thinking seemed to jump from the old circle into a new era. Yes, platoon leader. In the next few days, Suchen was organizing training, greatly improving his combat effectiveness. But he soon realized that even though he repeatedly emphasized, there were still many loopholes in tactical coordination. The reason behind this is that there are too few regular armies that take the lead and lead the way, making it difficult for them to make concerted efforts. This kind of army may seem powerful, but in reality, it is an unstoppable paper tiger. Suchen made up her mind to change the current situation. Just wanting to recruit talented people with the current level of organization, I'm afraid there won't be any chance of drums and gongs on the stage. So, he can only take a different path. Suchen furrowed her brows, and after thinking for half a day, a place name suddenly came to her mind. Maotu Mountain Prisoner of War Camp. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 6 Sword Point Prisoner of War Camp. No Conscience Canon. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. According to the original plot, a group of Central Army soldiers are being held in the prisoner of war camp. Among them, it includes the ceiling of Liangjin's combat power. Monkwei Daong. If they can be brought into their own army, then the current predicament can be easily resolved. However, the Japanese in the prisoner of war camp are all among the elite, and if you want to take it, you must consider it in the long run. Just as Suchen was thinking, a system prompt suddenly came to her mind. Ding, detected the Japanese prisoner of war camp. Trigger a first-level divine selection, please make a choice for the host. Option 1. If you turn a blind eye, you will receive 1038 caps. Option 2. Rescue Wei Daong, you will receive two 60mm caliber mortars. Option 3. Destroy the prisoner of war camp, rescue all prisoners, and you will receive 200 boxes of Mills grenades. Mills grenade. Suchen was slightly stunned. This was one of the legendary grenades that had made great contributions during World War II. Small in size, powerful, cost-effective, and equipped with 60 grams of TNT explosives, it has strong armor-breaking ability. So Suchen didn't even think about it and chose 3 directly. However, high walls are usually built outside prisoner of war camps, and in order to minimize casualties on one's own side, a new throwing method must be utilized. Suchen was reminiscing about her past life memories when 4 typing words suddenly popped up in her mind. Heartless Cannon. The Heartless Cannon, also known as the Flying Thunder Cannon, if the caliber is justice, then it can definitely be considered as full of justice. In the later stage of the war, due to a shortage of artillery, our army used local materials, buried gasoline barrels in the soil, added propellant and sealing plates, and ignited them to throw explosive packages up to 300 meters away. No matter what defensive fortification, it is difficult to resist. Enemies are often not killed by explosions, but by powerful shockwaves that shatter their internal organs and cause bleeding from their 7 orifices. Later, after improvement, it was able to launch cluster grenades, giant stones, incendiary bombs, etc., and its power improved. Do you know how to make black gunpowder? Suchen looked at the crowd again and said, do you know how to make black gunpowder? Our family is a pioneer, I know how to do it. I can do it too. Zhu Ziming smiled and said, Company Commander, for our brothers, these are all the ways to catch the king in the wheat field. 10-1. Suchen nodded and said that black gunpowder has a history of thousands of years in the Great Xia dynasty, so the production method is no longer a secret. Mr. Zhu, choose a few experienced hands and make a batch as soon as possible. Yes, Captain. Zhu Ziming stood at attention, saluted, and then awkwardly said, Captain, you can just call me by my name in the future. I really can't bear the word boss. Upon hearing this, Su Chen nodded and did not make much fuss about it. In this way, Qingfeng Fortress began its first grand military production. But when everyone saw the finished product, they couldn't help but look at each other. A local cannon modified from gasoline and gasoline barrels. After hesitating for a moment, Huzi whispered. Captain, last time we captured a lot of artillery from the little devil's hands, so is this local artillery inferior, or almost so? Huzi, as the saying goes, tailor measures to local conditions. Sometimes, this thing works even better than a mortar. Su Chen patted the other person's shoulder as he spoke. Huzi did not fully understand this, but he unconditionally believed in Su Chen. A week later, the sky was dim and suitable for a surprise attack. After a brief observation, Su Chen made a decisive decision. Immediately trigger and attack the Maotu Mountain prisoner of war camp. Tiger Sun, gather your troops. Yes, Captain. Not long after, all the soldiers in a row gathered together. Stand at attention, take a break. Report your numbers in each row. 1, 2, 3. Report to the platoon leader. It should have reached 373 people, but it has actually reached 372 people. The report was over, and Su Chen nodded with satisfaction. Since joining Qingfeng Village, she has been able to catch up with the mid-level organization. Su Chen didn't beat around the bush and directly opened the door to the mountain, saying, It's been more than half a month since training, and I know you all have some itching. As the saying goes, just talk, don't practice fake tricks, so I plan to start today and go fuck the damn dog day devils. Target, Maotu Mountain prisoner of war camp. Upon hearing this, the soldiers who had been holding back for a long time were extremely excited, their eyes cracking with anger. Since it's a prisoner of war camp, the defense of the Japanese is bound to not be underestimated, Su Chen said while striking the iron while it was hot. But everyone doesn't have to worry, there's nothing difficult in the world, as long as you're willing to climb. Follow my command, dare to fight, and win this battle. Yes. The soldiers were excited and their voices shook like thunder. Looking at the crowd who looked at death as if returning home, Su Chen also clenched his fists and said, Dissolve and prepare for the battle, set off in an hour. Yes. And just as Su Chen was full of energy and pointed his sword at the prisoner of war camp, Li Yunlong was stripped of his official hat by the boss for disobedience on the battlefield. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 7. Old Li is masked. Suchen, let's go. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At the entrance of the new regiment's residence, Li Yunlong cursed. Damn it, if a person is unlucky, they'll hit their heels even if they fart. What's wrong with me, isn't it just that I didn't break through from Yujieling? Anyway, it's a breakout. Which direction is it from, isn't it? I killed Sakata. If I don't reward him, it's okay. Instead, he demoted me. Can you tell me, where am I going to make sense? Upon hearing this, Ding Wei, the former commander of the 28th Regiment, comforted his old friend and said, All right, Li, don't complain anymore. Isn't it demotion? If you're not in your position and don't plan for politics, you can still rest in the rear. Don't worry, the head of the headquarters won't forget you. You may be reinstated to your original position someday, and the new regiment will belong to you sooner or later. As a result, Li Yunlong didn't eat this trick at all. Old Ding, don't stand and talk, kid, it hurts your back. It's not a big deal to be demoted, even if I become a company commander. What the hell did he make me go to the bedding factory to be the factory manager? Is that what the men do? Isn't that forcing Zhang Fei to embroider flowers? Besides, I finally managed to bring out a new ball, but it turned out to be a bargain for you, kid, to eat ready-made food. Seeing Li Yunlong speaking more and more vigorously, Ding Wei finally took out his trump card and said, "Don't make such a fuss, I won't take your new team for free. How about I give you a gift?" Upon hearing this, Li Yunlong was taken aback. Immediately after, he looked up and down at Ding Wei for a long time and doubted, "You're just a poor kid. What gift can you have?" Now it was Ding Wei's turn to be unhappy. I said loudly, "Don't be disrespectful, kid. This is a heavy gift. I originally wanted to keep it for myself, but when I saw my old comrade being dismissed, I felt really uncomfortable in my heart. I gritted my teeth and stomped my feet, giving you a ride." Li Yunlong's eyes rolled around a few times before suddenly showing a happy expression. "I guessed it, your kid has got a good gun. Take it out quickly, let me see." Ding Wei smiled and said, "Wow, what's a gun? I'll tell you, I'll send you a cavalry barracks. Cavalry camp. Where is it?" Li Yunlong was stunned and couldn't help but let his eyes sparkle. Ding Wei chuckled lightly and leaned in. Meanwhile, Su Chen and his troops have arrived at the foot of Maotu Mountain. Not long after, Zhu Ziming, who went to inquire about the news, went back and forth. Report to the platoon leader. After investigation, the number of Japanese prisoners in the prisoner of war camp should not be many, around 300 to 400 people, but they are all elite. Upon hearing Zhu Ziming's words, Huzi frowned and said, "This number of people can fight a battle. But if the devils stick to the prisoner of war camp, we will be in a passive position." Upon hearing this, everyone nodded one after another. But Su Chen's expression remained indifferent. At this moment, it was time for the heartless cannon to show off its divine power. Immediately after, the soldiers began digging pits, burying gasoline barrels, and filling black gunpowder in an orderly manner. On the other hand, the prisoner of war camp was also bustling with activity. The Japanese special instructor looked at the prisoners in front of him with a contemptuous expression. "Prisoners of war, now the Imperial Army rewards you with a chance to survive. You can form a group of 3, wielding short knives, and attack an unarmed Imperial soldier at the same time. If you defeat him, you can immediately gain freedom. It depends on whether you have the courage." As soon as the special instructor of the Japanese army finished speaking, 3 prisoners stood up. In fact, they know that what the Japanese say is simply farting. But sooner or later, it's better to have an extra cushion. Unfortunately, only about 5 minutes later, the 3 of them died tragically in the hands of the Japanese. Then, like being dragged out by a wild dog, upon seeing this, the Japanese special instructor sneered and said, "Are you soldiers? I don't think so. You are just a group of sheep waiting to be killed. In no time, the whole summer will kneel at the feet of the respected emperor. Let's give it a try." Suddenly, a burly man walked forward, his eyes wide open in anger. This person is none other than Wei Monk and Wei Daong. The Japanese officer remained indifferent and said, "Yo Shi. Is there anything else? I need 3 people." As a result, Monk Wei raised his neck and creaked, "No need, I like 1.1. Nanny." The Japanese Special Forces officer was taken aback. "Are you disrespecting the kung fu of our imperial soldiers?" Wei Monk argued and said, "3-legged cat kung fu is not very good." The special officer of the Japanese army had a gloomy face and spoke coldly, "San Qian Jun, you can start now." Unexpectedly, the monk interrupted again, "Slow down. Let him go to the side, you come. Fight me." The special forces officer was somewhat incredulous, and then grinned harshly. "Xiao Shi, it seems that you are getting impatient living. Since that's the case, I'll give you a ride. The conscience of our soldiers in the great Neon Empire is greatly merciful." After speaking, the Japanese special officer pretended to have obtained his muscles and bones, but in reality, he suddenly launched a surprise attack and punched the monk's face. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 8. Monk kills life. Suchen leads the snake out of the cave. You are listening at novel full.audio. Faced with this sudden blow, the monk remained calm and easily dodged by leaning slightly. Upon seeing this, the Japanese Special Forces officer frowned slightly, then twisted his waist and made a backhand elbow strike. As a result, Monk Wei blocked the situation and kicked it out. Bang! Before the Japanese Special Forces officer could react, he was already thrown into a mess, his mouth full of mud and sand. Ba ga! My 8, your uncle. Seeing that the other party was about to get up, Monk Wei directly overcame the mountain. Well, 2 bowl-sized fists rained down like raindrops. In just a few blinks, the nose and mouth of the Japanese Special Forces officer were all crooked, blood gushing out, salty, sour, and spicy, all rushing up to the forehead. Ba jie yalu. I want you, die die die. How dare you still confront your grandfather? The more Wei Monk thought, the more angry he became, and he jumped down directly, with his right elbow facing the neck of the special officer. Click. After the dull noise, the Special Forces officer's eyes burst and his head drooped limply once more. For a moment, the whole room fell silent. Speaking quickly, the monk didn't hesitate at all and directly took off the Browning pistol from the special officer's waist. Bang! 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 He fired several shots in a row and instantly killed several devils. Immediately after, the monk lifted his arm and shouted, "What are you waiting for? Brothers, come kill me." The other prisoners only realized it later and started fighting with the devils around them. In just a few minutes, the whole training ground has become a pot of congee. Ba jie yalu. Dare to rebel in my territory, everyone is dead. Seeing this scene, the young lieutenant who came upon hearing the news. Mudo Prefecture cursed loudly. As the overall leader of the prisoner of war camp, he has always implemented a zero-tolerance policy towards violent behavior. Wu Tingzhou said with a grim expression, all the prisoners who participated in the riot will be killed on the spot, leaving no one behind. Boom boom. Boom boom. Roaming and rumbling before the Japanese could even take action, suddenly there was a loud noise outside the prisoner of war camp, like thunder in the sky. Looking at the scattered dust and smoke, Mudo Prefecture was stunned and said, "Baga, what a situation." At this moment, several little devils crawled over and said, "Report to your Excellency Xiaozhua that a large number of 8 paths have appeared outside, suspected to be equipped with heavy artillery." Nanny. Upon hearing this, Mudo Prefecture didn't calm down. It is reported that heavy artillery only appears at the regimental level in the 8th Route Army. Can we say at present, he didn't care about anything else and immediately drew out his sword and ordered, everyone, immediately enter an emergency state of alert. Except for the patrol team responsible for suppressing the prisoner riot, all other soldiers immediately support the direction of the tower. Hi-e. At the same time, all the soldiers in a row were dumbfounded. They never expected that the seemingly unremarkable gasoline barrel in front of them could explode with such power. With just 3 strikes, the enemy's defense line is on the brink of collapse. "Captain, what's this thing called? It's so fierce." Huzi exclaimed in surprise. Suchen smiled and said, "Thunderbolt, but I prefer its other name. The Heartless Cannon. No Conscience Cannon." Suchen nodded and explained, "No Conscience Cannon, only targeting the heartless little devils." Huzi was taken aback and grinned, "Hee, that's a great name." After a moment, the high wall of the prisoner of war camp was riddled with holes. Seeing this, Suchen narrowed his eyes slightly and said, "According to the original plan, start attacking." Yes. 15 minutes later, under the cover of heavy and light machine guns, Huzi smoothly led the first and second rows of soldiers to rush to the gate of the prisoner of war camp and said, "Everyone has it. Give me a hard fight." At the same time, Lieutenant Wu Tingzhou opened his throat and said, "Sass, give it. Da-da-da. Da-da-da. Da-da-da." In an instant, both sides engaged in fierce gunfire, and the sound of gunfire and artillery was deafening. After about 10 minutes, Huzi pretended to be invincible and shouted loudly, "Retreat, pay attention to concealment." Upon hearing this, the soldiers turned around and left without stopping at all. Upon seeing this, Wu Tingzhou looked contemptuous and said, "Yoshi, the great Xia Pig's three-board axe has been swung." In his view, the 8th route was both dirt and poor, and the previous heavy firepower was superficial. At this moment, the bullets are all fired and there is no way to replenish them. So he drew out his assistant's sword and said in a high voice, "Everyone, follow orders and pursue the thief Simas. Make sure to completely annihilate these ignorant, Tuba Lu, I am greatly rewarded." Hi-e. Quickly, the Japanese prisoners of war in the prisoner of war camp set out, fiercely biting the tiger and others without letting go. At the same time, Su Chen and the remaining soldiers gathered their momentum and waited for the little devils to enter the trap. Half a quarter of an hour later, hundreds of Japanese soldiers arrived at the ambush circle. Wu Tingzhou looked around and felt a sense of unease in his heart. Ba Ga. Where is the previous Ba Lu? Why is it missing? Before the Japanese soldiers could report, Su Chen, who was in a commanding position, finally stopped hiding and raised his arms, shouting, "Strike! Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 9. Pocket Tactics. Fire Suppression. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Boom. Boom. Roaming and rumbling with Su Chen's command, the heartless cannon was fired again. Ba Jie, cunning the Xia Pig. Quickly, find cover. It wasn't until then that Mudo Prefecture finally realized that he and his companions had been ambushed. However, the power of the flying thunder cannon is too great, even if it is not in the center of the explosion, it will be shattered by the gas explosion. Wu Tingzhou's face turned pale and he stared dumbfounded. What kind of weapon from the 8th route? Is its power so powerful? At the same time, the Japanese staff was covered in blood stains and said, "Your Excellency, what should we do next?" After looking around, Mudo Prefecture gritted his teeth and said, "First withdraw from the prisoner of war camp." He ordered all the devils to turn around and run away. Seeing this, Su Chen sneered incessantly. "Want to leave? How could it be so easy?" He continued to command, "Replace the explosives with hand grenades and continue shelling." Yes. The 8th route warriors were excited and took out Mills grenades one after another. In just a moment, hundreds of grenades appeared above the heads of the devils, like heavenly maidens scattering flowers. Boom boom. Boom boom. Roaming and rumbling compared to explosives, cluster grenades undoubtedly have greater power. With just shrapnel, they can instantly harvest most enemies within a radius of more than 10 meters. In addition, the Japanese only wanted to retreat, and their formation was chaotic, with no room for escape at all. After several rounds, the mountains and fields were filled with broken limbs, and the smell of blood and smoke mixed and filled each other, making it nauseating. Although the power of the flying cannon is enormous, it also has limitations, that is, its range is only 200 to 300 meters. As Su Chen watched the devils run further and further away, he immediately issued an order. "It's time to close the net and kill all the devils." Yes. After the words fell, all the soldiers of the 8th route chased wildly, shouting earth-shattering. Da-da-da. 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 Bullets were shooting from all directions, and the devils were shot and fell to the ground, bleeding profusely. Soon, the casualties of the Japanese have exceeded half. Ba jie, dam xia zhu. Wu Tingzhou knew that if this continued, his army would eventually be completely destroyed. After careful consideration, he could only take the following strategy. From now on, everyone is free to launch a surprise attack. We must preserve the Empire's living power. Hi-e. When the devils heard this, they all felt like they had beaten chicken blood one by one. In fact, for ordinary soldiers, this breakthrough method does not require the formation of a wall to protect officers, and the survival rate is higher. However, the firepower of the 8th route is too strong, and all sides are surrounded, with only a gap in the north. So the devils don't care about the situation, they start competing with each other and rushing towards it. But they didn't know that it hit Su Chen's chest. After a moment, the devils had reached the gap. Wu Tingzhou breathed a sigh of relief and said with a fierce expression, "These bastards, when they return to the prisoner of war camp, I want them all to die." However, directly above them, Zhu Ziming, who had been waiting for a long time, was extremely excited and said, "Brothers, fight me." Just after the speech, bullets poured out like a storm. Bang! Bang! Bang da da da! Da da da! Da da da! The devils thought they could escape from the deep sky, so now they all relaxed their vigilance and were caught off guard by the beating. In addition, with a narrow gap, a large number of Japanese soldiers stood in place like living targets, being beaten to pieces. This is the shrewdness of pocket tactics. 8th route, cunning is so great. Wu Tingzhou was stunned, he never expected that the other party's plans would be so interconnected. Looking at the sea of corpses and blood in front of him, Mudo Prefecture knew that he was already a criminal of the empire. At this moment, he is completely disillusioned. If the prisoner of war camp is lost, even if I can return alive, I am afraid I will not escape death. After much hesitation, he decided to settle the matter on his own, apologizing and being loyal. Long live the great Neon Empire! Long live His Majesty the Emperor! At this moment, Zhu Ziming didn't know where to come from, and with a single strike, he had the opportunity to chop off his head. Long live your master, the little devil must die in the hands of the people of Xia. In a quarter of an hour, all the devils were annihilated. Zhu Ziming ran excitedly to Su Chen and saluted, saying, "Report to the platoon leader, the task has been successfully completed." A total of 432 Japanese soldiers were killed this time, including the commanding officer of the prisoner of war camp. Mudo Prefecture, with the rank of lieutenant colonel. Upon hearing this, Su Chen nodded, as expected. Later, he asked, "How were our casualties?" 64 minor injuries, 2 serious injuries, and no fatalities. Su Chen nodded and then looked at the prisoner of war camp with a firm gaze, saying, "Except for the wounded, everyone else should make some adjustments and continue moving forward." Yes. Meanwhile, within the prisoner of war camp, after leaving Mudo Prefecture, Wei Monk joined forces with a group of prisoners of war, and their momentum grew stronger and stronger. Although there are few Japanese soldiers in the patrol team, they have guns and cannons, so they still have an absolute advantage after occupying high places. The captain of the patrol team was furious and made an attacking gesture. "Ba Jie, how dare these lowly Xia pigs rebel? Follow my orders and kill them all." Hi-e. With a command, dozens of devils raised their guns in unison. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 10. Captain Su's face, I have to hold it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On this side, Su Chen and others have arrived outside the prisoner of war camp. After observing for a moment, he immediately issued an order. Everyone has it, attack. Yes. Boom. 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 Several explosive packs quickly emerged from the barrel, and in the midst of earth-shattering explosions, the high wall outside the camp finally completely collapsed. Countless devils were killed by smashing, bombing, and shaking. At the same time, all the Central Army prisoners of war were stunned. A few seconds later, the monk was the first to react and said, "We're here to help, everyone put in more effort, kill these damn sons of bitches." At this moment, the pent-up anger of the prisoners of war finally erupted completely, shooting and killing the remaining devils like madness. In just 5 minutes, the Mautu Mountain prisoner of war camp had been completely captured. Huzi was extremely excited and grinned. "Report to the company commander, all the devils have been wiped out, not a single one has escaped." Suchen nodded and said, "Notify the brothers to clean the battlefield." "Yes." At this moment, the monk welcomed him and saluted, "Thank you very much, 8th Route Officer." Seeing this tiger general, Suchen's eyes lit up slightly. According to Wei Daiyong's own account, he was once a lay disciple of Shaolin Temple, practicing martial arts for more than 10 years and practicing all kinds of real kung fu. Li Yunlong practiced martial arts at the age of 8, and none of them were his opponents. At the same time, Monk Wei was also observing Suchen. Finally, he couldn't help but say, "Hello sir, my name is Wei Daiyong, the sergeant squad leader of the 72nd Division of the Central Army. I don't know, which organization are you?" Since the beginning of our cooperation, he has dealt with the 8th Route Army a lot, but the troops in front of him are really outrageous. A platoon possessed 10 light machine guns, 1 heavy machine gun, and even saw the figures of grenades and artillery just now. Upon hearing this, Suchen joked, "Did you ask before or now?" The monk was a bit confused. "Is there any difference?" Suchen explained, "Originally under the jurisdiction of the new 1st Regiment of the 386th Brigade of the 129th Division, but after the Battle of Kangyunling." "What? A new group?" The monk widened his eyes before the words could be finished. "That's the unit that annihilated the old Japanese soldier Sakata. In the Battle of Shinko, the 72nd Division was defeated by the Sakata Regiment, which was a great shame for the Central Army." So when he heard the 3 words, Xine Tuan, the monk's face was full of admiration. Suchen explained, "But unfortunately, after the Battle of Kangyunling, we got separated from the main army and were listed as casualties. So according to the formal organization, it can only be considered as a guerrilla team at the moment." As he spoke, Huzi went back and forth. "Report to platoon leader, the battlefield has been cleaned up. A total of 338 large covers, 8 crooked handles, and 4 crooked handles have been seized. In addition, there are also many magnesium equipment." Listening to the report, Su Chen's figure trembled slightly and said, "It's just a prisoner of war camp. How could there be magnesium equipment? There might be some tricks here." At this moment, the monk spoke up and said, "Captain Su, as far as I know, this should be a training ground for a group of senior combat personnel. The devils never get entangled with people when it comes to fighting, they use every move to kill, and their attire is also very special." Upon hearing this, Suchen realized it. The so called senior combat personnel should refer to the Yamamoto Special Forces team. If that's the case, the appearance of magnesium equipment can also explain it. After nodding, Suchen turned his gaze back to the monk and said, "Now that the prisoner of war camp has been captured, what are your plans next?" The monk scratched his head and sighed one after another. "To be honest, the entire northwest of Shaanxi has long lost our shelter. The Central Army has a strict censorship system for prisoners of war, and even if they return, they may not yield good results." After this statement was made, the other prisoners of war also expressed their condolences. Upon seeing this, Suchen secretly rejoiced in his heart and said, "Don't worry too much. As long as you have guns and cannons, where is it not to fight the Japanese?" The monk was taken aback and immediately recognized the implied meaning. Subsequently, he fell into contemplation. The reason why he joined the Central Army was because he was well equipped and had sufficient combat power to kill a few more little devils. But now it seems that even the elite ace may not necessarily be comparable to the previous team. Especially Captain Suchen, although young, already possesses the aura of a great general. Perhaps this is the most suitable unit for oneself. After a moment, the monk finally made up his mind. Zhong, I've done it with you. Lieutenant Su, give face, I must hold on. The other prisoners of war looked at each other anxiously and expressed their attitudes. And me, I also want to join the 8th route. Count me in. Follow Captain Su and fight the Japanese. Looking at the extraordinary crowd, Su Chen was very satisfied. Maotu Mountain can be considered a big deal this time. Not to mention equipment, these prisoners of war from regular military backgrounds alone are a wealth. After they join, they will surely make progress and enhance the strength of the troops. And just in terms of the number of people, not to mention the company's hierarchical structure, it's more than enough to form a team. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.